After dark. 1. Eyes mark the shape of the city. Through the eyes of a high-flying nightbird, we take in the scene from midair. In our broad sweep, the city looks like a single gigantic creature, or more like a single collective entity created by many intertwining organisms. Countless arteries stretch to the ends of its elusive body, circulating a continuous supply of fresh blood cells, sending out new data and collecting the old, sending out new consumables and collecting the old, sending out new contradictions and collecting the old. To the rhythm of its pulsing, all hearts of the body flicker and flare up and squirm. Midnight is approaching, and while the peak of activity has passed, the basal metabolism that maintains life continues undiminished, producing the basso continuo of the city's moan, a monotonous sound that neither rises nor falls but is pregnant with foreboding. Our line of sight chooses an area of concentrated brightness and, focusing there, silently descends to it a sea of neon colors. They call this place an amusement district. The giant digital screens fastened to the sides of buildings force silence as midnight approaches, but loudspeakers on storefronts keep pumping out exaggerated hip-hop bass lines. A large game center crammed with young people, wild electronic sounds, a group of college students spilling out from a bar, teenage girls with brilliant bleached hair, healthy legs thrusting out from micro miniskirts, dark-suited men racing across diagonal crossings for the last trains to the suburbs. Even at this hour, the karaoke club pitchmen keep shouting for customers. A flashy black station wagon drifts down the street as if taking stock of the district through its black-tinted windows. The car looks like a deep-sea creature with specialized skin and organs. 2 young policemen patrol the street with tense expressions, but no one seems to notice them. The district plays by its own rules at a time like this. The season is late autumn. No wind is blowing, but the air carries a chill. The date is just about to change. We are inside a Denny's. Unremarkable but adequate lighting, expressionless decor and tableware, floor plan designed to the last detail by management engineers, innocuous background music at low volume, staff meticulously trained to deal with customers by the book. Welcome to Denny's. Everything about the restaurant is anonymous and interchangeable. And almost every seat is filled. After a quick survey of the interior, our eyes come to rest on a girl sitting by the front window. Why her? Why not someone else? Hard to say. But, for some reason, she attracts our attention very naturally. She sits at a 4-person table, reading a book. Hooded grey parka, blue jeans, yellow sneakers faded from repeated washing. On the back of the chair next to her hangs a varsity jacket. This, too, is far from new. She is probably college freshman age, though an air of high school still clings to her. Hair black, short, and straight. Little makeup, no jewelry. Small, slender face. Black-rimmed glasses. Every now and then, an earnest wrinkle forms between her brows. She reads with great concentration. Her eyes rarely move from the pages of her book, a thick hardback. A bookstore wrapper hides the title from us. Judging from her intent expression, the book might contain challenging subject matter. Far from skimming, she seems to be biting off and chewing it one line at a time. On her table is a coffee cup. And an ashtray. Next to the ashtray, a navy blue baseball cap with a Boston Red Sox B. It might be a little too large for her head. A brown leather shoulder bag rests on the seat next to her. It bulges as if its contents had been thrown in on the spur of the moment. She reaches out at regular intervals and brings the coffee cup to her mouth, but she doesn't appear to be enjoying the flavor. She drinks because she has a cup of coffee in front of her. That is her role as a customer. At odd moments, she puts a cigarette between her lips and lights it with a plastic lighter. She narrows her eyes, releases an easy puff of smoke into the air, puts a cigarette into the ashtray, and then, as if to soothe an approaching headache, she strokes her temples with her fingertips. The music playing at low volume is Go Away Little Girl by Percy Faith and his orchestra. No one is listening, of course. Many different kinds of people are taking meals and drinking coffee in this late-night Denny's, but she is the only female there alone. She raises her face from her book now and then to glance at her watch, but she seems dissatisfied with the slow passage of time. Not that she appears to be waiting for anyone. She doesn't look around the restaurant or train her eyes on the front door. She just keeps reading her book, lighting an occasional cigarette, mechanically tipping back her coffee cup, and hoping for the time to pass a little faster. Needless to say, Dawn will not be here for hours. She breaks off her reading and looks outside. From the second-story window she can look down on the busy street. Even at a time like this, the street is bright enough and filled with people coming and going, people with places to go and people with no place to go. People with a purpose and people with no purpose. People trying to hold time back and people trying to urge it forward. After a long, steady look at this jumbled street scene, she holds her breath for a moment and turns her eyes once again towards her book. She reaches for her coffee cup. Puffed no more than 2 or 3 times, her cigarette turns into a perfectly formed column of ash in the ashtray. The electric door slides open and a lanky young man walks in. Short black leather coat, wrinkled olive green chinos, brown work boots. Hair fairly long and tangled in places. Perhaps he has had no chance to wash it in some days. Perhaps he has just crawled out of the underbrush somewhere. Or perhaps he just finds it more natural and comfortable to have messy hair. His thinness makes him look less elegant than malnourished. A big black instrument case hangs from his shoulder. Wind instrument. He also holds a dirty tote bag at his side. It seems to be stuffed with sheet music and other assorted things. His right cheek bears an eye-catching scar. It is short and deep, as if the flesh has been gouged out by something sharp. Nothing else about him stands out. He is very ordinary young man with the air of a nice, but not very clever, stray mutt. The waitress on hostess duty shows him to a seat at the back of the restaurant. He passes the table of the girl with the book. A few steps beyond it, he comes to a halt as if a thought struck him. He begins moving slowly backwards as in a rewinding film, stopping at her table. He cocks his head and studies her face. He is trying to remember something, and much time goes by until he gets it. He seems like the type for whom everything takes time. The girl senses his presence and raises her face from her book. She narrows her eyes and looks at the young man standing there. He is so tall, she seems to be looking far overhead. Their eyes meet. The young man smiles. His smile is meant to show he means no harm. Sorry if I've got the wrong person, he says, but aren't you Eri Osse's little sister? She does not answer. She looks at him with eyes that could be looking at an overgrown bush in the corner of a garden. We met once, he continues. Your name is Yuri, sort of like your sister Aries except the first syllable. Keeping a cautious gaze fixed on him, she executes a concise factual correction, Mao. He raises his index finger and says, that's it. Marie. Eri and Marie. Different first syllables. You don't remember me, do you? Marie inclines her head slightly. This could mean either yes or no. She takes off her glasses and sets them down beside her coffee cup. The waitress retraces her steps and asks, are you together? He answers. We are. She sets his menu on the table. He takes the seat across from Marie and puts his case on the seat next to his. A moment later he thinks to ask Marie, mind if I sit here a while? I'll get out as soon as I'm finished eating. I have to meet somebody. Marie gives him a slight frown. Aren't you supposed to say that before you sit down? He thinks about the meaning of her words. That I have to meet somebody? No. Marie says. Oh, you mean as a matter of politeness? He nods. You're right. I should have asked if it's okay to sit at your table. I'm sorry, but the place is crowded, and I won't bother you for long. Do you mind? Marie gives her shoulders a little shrug that seems to mean as you wish. He opens his menu and studies it. Are you through eating? He asks. I'm not hungry. With a scowl, he scans the menu, snaps it shut, and lays it on the table. I really don't have to open the menu, he says. I'm just faking it. Marie doesn't say anything. I don't eat anything but chicken salad here. Ever. If you ask me, the only thing worth eating at Denny's is the chicken salad. I've had just about everything on the menu. Have you ever tried their chicken salad? Marie shakes her head. It's not bad. Chicken salad and crispy toast. That's all I ever eat at Denny's. So why do you even bother looking at the menu? He pulls at the wrinkles in the corner of one eye with his little finger. Just think about it. Wouldn't it be too sad to walk into Denny's and order chicken salad without looking at the menu? It's like telling the world, I come to Denny's all the time because I love the chicken salad. So I always go through the motion of opening the menu and pretending I picked the chicken salad after considering other things. The waitress brings him water and he orders chicken salad and crispy toast. Make it really crispy, he says with conviction. Almost burnt. He also orders coffee for afterwards. The waitress inputs his order using a handheld device and confirms it by reading it aloud. And I think the young lady needs a refill, he says, pointing at Marie's cup. Thank you, sir. I will bring the coffee right away. He watches her go off. You don't like chicken? He asks. It's not that, Marie says. But I make a point of not eating chicken out. Why not? Especially the chicken they serve in chain restaurants, they're full of weird drugs. Growth hormones and stuff. The chickens are locked in these dark, narrow cages, and given all these shots, and their feed is full of chemicals, and they're put on conveyor belts, and then machines cut their heads off and pluck them. Whoa, he says with a smile. The wrinkles at the corners of his eyes deepen. Chicken salad a la George Orwell. Marie narrows her eyes and looks at him. She can't tell if he is making fun of her. Anyhow, he says, the chicken salad here is not bad. Really. As if suddenly recalling that he's wearing it, he takes off his leather coat, folds it, and lays it on the seat next to his. Then he rubs his hands together atop the table. He has on a green, coarse-knit crewneck sweater. Like his hair, the wool of the sweater is tangled in places. He is obviously not the sort who pays a lot of attention to his appearance. We met at a hotel swimming pool in Shinagawa. 2 summers ago. Remember? Sort of. My buddy was there, your sister was there, you were there, and I was there. 4 of us all together. We had just entered college, and I'm pretty sure you were in your second year of high school. Right. Marie nods without much apparent interest. My friend was kinda dating your sister then. He brought me along on like a double date. He dug up 4 free tickets to the call, and your sister brought you along. You hardly said a word, though. You spent the whole time in the call, swimming like a young dolphin. We went to the hotel tea room for ice cream afterwards. You ordered a peach melba. Marie frowns. How come you remember stuff like that? I never dated a girl who ate peach melba before. And you were cute, of course. Marie looks at him blankly. Leia. You were staring at my sister the whole time. I was. Marie answers with silence. Maybe I was, he says. For some reason I remember her bikini was really tiny. Marie pulls out a cigarette, puts it between her lips, and lights it with her lighter. Let me tell you something, he says. I'm not trying to defend Denny's or anything, but I'm pretty sure that smoking a whole pack of cigarettes is way worse for you than eating a plate of chicken salad that might have some problems with it. Don't you think so? Marie ignores his question. Another girl was supposed to go with my sister that time, but she got sick at the last minute and my sister forced me to go with her. To keep the numbers right. So you were in a bad mood. I remember you, though. Really? Marie puts her finger on her right cheek. The young man touches the deep scar on his own cheek. Oh, this. When I was a kid, I was going too fast on my bike and couldn't make the turn at the bottom of the hill. Another inch and I would have lost my right eye. My earlobes deformed, too. Wanna see it? Marie frowns and shakes her head. The waitress brings the chicken salad and toast to the table. She pours fresh coffee into Marie's cup and checks to make sure she has brought all the ordered items to the table. He picks up his knife and fork and, with his practiced movements, begins eating his chicken salad. Then he picks up a piece of toast, stares at it, and wrinkles his brow. No matter how much I scream at them to make my toast as crispy as possible, I have never once got it the way I want it. I can't imagine why. What with Japanese industriousness and high-tech culture and the market principles that the Denny's chain is always pursuing, it shouldn't be that hard to get crispy toast, don't you think? So, why can't they do it? Of what value is a civilization that can't toast a piece of bread as ordered? Marie doesn't take him up on this. But anyhow, your sister was a real beauty, the young man says, as if talking to himself. Marie looks up. Why do you say that in the past tense? Why do I? I'm talking about something that happened a long time ago, so I use the past tense, that's all. I'm not saying she isn't a beauty now or anything. She's still pretty, I think. Well, that's just dandy. But, to tell you the truth, I don't know Eri Ose all that well. We were in the same class for a year in high school, but I hardly said 2 words to her. It might be more accurate to say she wouldn't give me the time of day. You're still interested in her, right? The young man stops his knife and fork in midair and thinks for a moment. Interested? Maybe as a kind of intellectual curiosity. Intellectual curiosity? Yeah, like, what would it feel like to go out on a date with a beautiful girl like Eri Ose? I mean, she's an absolute cover girl. You call that intellectual curiosity? Kind of, yeah. But back then, your friend was the one going out with her, and you were the other guy on a double date. He nods with a mouthful of food, which he then takes all the time he needs to chew. I'm kind of a low-key guy. The spotlight doesn't suit me. I'm more of a side dish, coleslaw or french fries or wham, backup singer. Which is why you were paired with me. But still, you were pretty damn cute. Is there something about your personality that makes you prefer the past tense? The young man smiles. No, I was just directly expressing how I felt back then from the perspective of the present. You were very cute. Really. You hardly talked to me, though. He rests his knife and fork on his plate, takes a drink of water, and wipes his mouth with a paper napkin. So, while you were swimming, I asked Eri Ose, why won't your little sister talk to me? Is there something wrong with me? What did she say? That you never take the initiative to talk to anybody. That you're kinda different, and that even though you're Japanese you speak more often in Chinese than Japanese. So I shouldn't worry. She didn't think there was anything especially wrong with me. Marie silently crushes her cigarette out in the ashtray. It's true, isn't it? There wasn't anything especially wrong with me, was there? Marie thinks for a moment. I don't remember all that well, but I don't think there was anything wrong with you. That's good. I was worried. Of course, I do have a few things wrong with me, but those are strictly problems I keep inside. I'd hate to think they were obvious to anybody else. Especially at a swimming pool in the summer. Marie looks at him again as if to confirm the accuracy of his statement. I don't think I was aware of any problems you had inside. That's a relief. I can't remember your name, though, Marie says. My name. Your name. He shakes his head. I don't mind if you forgot my name. It's about as ordinary as a name can be. Even I feel like forgetting it sometimes. It's not that easy, though, to forget your own name. Other people's names, even ones I have to remember, I'm always forgetting. He glances out of the window as if in search of something he should not have lost. Then he turns towards Marie again. One thing always mystified me, and that is, why didn't your sister ever get into the pool that time? It was a hot day, and a really nice pool. Marie looks at him as if to say, you mean you don't get that, either? She didn't want her makeup to wash off. It's so obvious. And you can't really swim in a bathing suit like that. Is that it? He says. It's amazing how two sisters can be so different. We live two different lives. He thinks about her words for a few moments and then says, I wonder how it turns out that we all lead such different lives. Take you and your sister, for example. You're born to the same parents. You grew up in the same household. You're both girls. How do you end up with such wildly different personalities? At what point do you, go your separate ways? One puts on a bikini like little semaphore flags and lies by the pool looking sexy, and the other puts on a school bathing suit and swims her heart out like a dolphin. Marie looks at him. Are you asking me to explain it to you here and now in 25 words or less while you eat your chicken salad? He shakes his head. No, I was just saying what popped into my head out of curiosity or something. You don't have to answer. I was just asking myself. He starts to work on his chicken salad again, changes his mind, and continues. I don't have any brothers or sisters, so I just wanted to know, up to what point do they resemble each other, and where do their differences come in? Marie remains silent while the young man with the knife and fork in his hand stares thoughtfully at a point in space above the table. Then he says, I once read a story about 3 brothers who washed up on an island in Hawaii. A myth. An old one. I read it when I was a kid, so I probably don't have the story exactly right, but it goes something like this. 3 brothers went out fishing and got caught in a storm. They drifted on the ocean for a long time until they washed up on the shore of an uninhabited island. It was a beautiful island with coconuts growing there and tons of fruit trees, and a big, high mountain in the middle. The night they got there, a god appeared in their dreams and said, a little farther down the shore, you will find 3 big, round boulders. I want each of you to push his boulder as far as he likes. The place you stop pushing your boulder is where you will live. The higher you go, the more of the world you will be able to see from your home. It's entirely up to you how far you want to push your boulder. The young man takes a drink of water and pauses for a moment. Marie looks bored, but she's clearly listening. Okay so far, he asks. Marie nods. Want to hear the rest? If you're not interested, I can stop. If it's not too long. No, it's not too long. It's a pretty simple story. He takes another sip of water and continues with his story. So the 3 brothers found 3 boulders on the shore just as the god had said they would. And they started pushing them along as the god told them to. Now these were huge, heavy boulders, so rolling them was hard, and pushing them up an incline took an enormous effort. The youngest brother quit first. He said, Brothers, this place is good enough for me. It's close to the shore, and I can catch fish. It has everything I need to go on living. I don't mind if I can't see that much of the world from here. His 2 older brothers pressed on, but when they were midway up the mountain, the second brother quit. He said, Brother, this place is good enough for me. There is plenty of fruit here. It has everything I need to go on living. I don't mind if I can't see that much of the world from here. The eldest brother continued walking up the mountain. The trail grew increasingly narrow and steep, but he did not quit. He had great powers of perseverance, and he wanted to see as much of the world as he possibly could, so he kept rolling the boulder with all his might. He went on for months, hardly eating or drinking, until he had rolled the boulder to the very peak of the high mountain. There he stopped and surveyed the world. Now he could see more of the world than anyone. This was the place he would live, where no grass grew, where no birds flew. For water, he could only lick the ice and frost. For food, he could only gnaw on moss. But he had no regrets, because now he could look out over the whole world. And so, even today, his great, round boulder is perched on the peak of that mountain on an island in Hawaii. That's how the story goes. Silence. Marie asks, is it supposed to have some kind of moral? 2, probably. The first one, he says, holding up a finger, is that people are all different. Even siblings. And the other one, he says, holding up another finger, is that if you really want to know something, you have to be willing to pay the price. Marie offers her opinion. To me, the lives chosen by the 2 younger brothers make the most sense. True, he concedes. Nobody wants to go all the way to Hawaii to stay alive licking frost and eating moss. That's for sure. But the eldest brother was curious to see as much of the world as possible, and he couldn't suppress that curiosity, no matter how big the price was he had to pay. Intellectual curiosity. Exactly. Marie went on thinking about this for a while, one hand perched on her thick book. Even if I asked you very politely what you're reading, you wouldn't tell me, would you? He asks. Probably not. It sure looks heavy. Marie says nothing. It's not the size book most girls carry around in their bags. Marie maintains her silence. He gives up and continues his meal. This time, He concentrates his attention on the chicken salad and finishes it without a word. He takes his time chewing and drinks a lot of water. He asks the waitress to refill his water glass several times. He eats his final piece of toast. Your house was way out in Hiyoshi, I seem to recall, he says. His empty plates have been cleared away. Marie nods. Then you'll never make the last train. I suppose you can go home by taxi, but next train's not until tomorrow morning. I know that much, Marie says. Just checking, he says. I don't know where you live, but haven't you missed the last train, too? Not so far. I'm in Koenji. But I live alone, and we're going to be practicing all night. Plus if I really have to get back, my buddy's got a car. He bats his instrument case like the head of a favorite dog. The band practices in the basement of a building near here, he says. We can make all the noise we want and nobody complains. There's hardly any heat, though, so it gets pretty cold this time of year. But they're letting us use it for free, so we take what we can get. Marie glances at the instrument case. That's a trombone? That's right. How do you know? Hell, I know what a trombone looks like. Well, sure, but there are tons of girls who don't even know the instrument exists. Can't blame them, though. Mick Jagger and Eric Clapton didn't become rock stars playing the trombone. Ever see Jimi Hendrix or Pete Townshend smash a trombone on the stage? Of course not. The only thing they smash is electric guitars. If they smash the trombone, the audience laugh. So why did you choose the trombone? He puts cream in his newly arrived coffee and takes a sip. When I was in middle school, I happened to buy a jazz record called Bluesette at a used record store. An old LP. I can't remember why I bought it at the time. I had never heard any jazz before. But anyway, the first tune on side A was 5 Spot After Dark, and it was great. A guy named Curtis Fuller played the trombone on it. The first time I heard it, I felt the scales fall from my eyes. That's it, I thought. That's the instrument for me. The trombone and me. It was a meeting arranged by destiny. The young man hums the first 8 bars of 5 Spot After Dark. I know that, says Marie. He looks baffled. You do? Marie hums the next 8 bars. How do you know that? He asks. It's against the law for me to know it. He sets his cup down and lightly shakes his head. No, not at all. But, I don't know, it's incredible. For a girl nowadays to know 5 Spot After Dark. Well, anyway, Curtis Fuller gave me goosebumps, and that got me started playing the trombone. I borrowed money from my parents, bought a used instrument, and joined the school band. Then in high school I started doing different stuff with bands. At first I was backing up a rock band, sorta like the old Tower of Power. Do you know Tower of Power? Marie shakes her head. It doesn't matter, he says. Anyhow, that's what I used to do. But now I'm purely into plain, simple jazz. My university's not much of a score, but we've got a pretty good band. The waitress comes to refill his water glass, but he waves her off. He glances at his watch. It's time for me to get out of here. Marie says nothing. Her face says, nobody's stopping you. Of course everybody comes late. Marie offers no comment on that, either. Hey, say hi from me to your sister, okay? You can do it yourself, can't you? You know our phone number. How can I say hi from you? I don't even know your name. He thinks about that for a moment. Suppose I call your house and Eri Ose answers. What am I supposed to talk about? Get her to help you plan a class reunion, maybe. You'll think of something. I'm not much of a talker. Never have been. I'd say you've been talking a lot to me. With you, I can talk, somehow. With me, you can talk, somehow, she parrots him. But with my sister, you can't talk. Probably not. Because of too much intellectual curiosity. I wonder, says his vague expression. He starts to say something, changes his mind, and stops. He takes a deep breath. He picks up the bill from the table and begins calculating the money in his head. I'll leave what I owe. Can you pay for us both later? Marie nods. He glances first at her and then at her book. After a moment's indecision he says, I know this is none of my business, but is something wrong? Like, problems with your boyfriend or a big fight with your family? I mean, staying in town alone by yourself all night. Marie puts on her glasses and stares up at him. The silence between them is tense and chilly. He raises both palms towards her as if to say, sorry for butting in. I'll probably be back here around 5 in the morning for a snack, he says. I'll be hungry again. I hope I see you then. Why? I wonder why. 'Cause you're worried about me? That's part of it. 'Cause you want me to say hi to my sister? That might be a little part of it, too. My sister wouldn't know the difference between a trombone and a toaster. She'd tell the difference between a Gucci and a Prada at a glance, though, I'm pretty sure. Everybody's got their own battlefields, he says with a smile. He takes a notebook from his coat pocket and writes something in it with a ballpoint pen. He tears the page out and hands it to her. This is the number of my cell phone. Call me if anything happens. Ah, do you have a cell phone? Marie shakes her head. I didn't think so, he says as if impressed. I thought I had this gut feeling, like, I'll bet she doesn't like cell phones. The young man stands and puts on his leather coat. He picks up his trombone case. A hint of his smile still remains as he says, CYA. Marie nods, expressionless. Without really looking at the scrap of paper, she places it on the table next to the bill. She holds her breath for a moment, puts her chin on her hand, and goes back to her book. Burt Bacharach's The April Fools plays through the restaurant at low volume. 3. The interior of the same Denny's as before. Martin Denny's Moore is playing in the background. The number of customers has decreased markedly from 30 minutes earlier, and there are no more voices raised in conversation. The atmosphere suggests a deeper state of night. Marie is still at her table, reading her thick book. In front of her sits a plate containing a vegetable sandwich, virtually untouched. She seems to have ordered it less out of hunger than as a means to buy herself more time at the restaurant. Now and then she changes the position in which she reads her book, resting her elbows on the table, or settling further back into her seat. Sometimes she raises her face, takes a deep breath, and checks out the restaurant's dwindling occupancy, but aside from this she maintains her concentration on her book. Her ability to concentrate seems to be one of her most important personal assets. There are more single customers to be seen now, someone writing on a laptop, someone text messaging on a cell phone, another absorbed in reading like Marie, another doing nothing but staring thoughtfully out of the window. Maybe they can't sleep. Maybe they don't want to sleep. A family restaurant provides such people with a place to park themselves late at night. A large woman charges in as if she could hardly wait for the restaurant's automatic glass door to open. She is solidly constructed, not fat. Her shoulders are broad and strong-looking. She wears a black woolen hat pulled down to the eyes, a big leather jacket, and orange pants. Her hands are empty. Her powerful appearance draws people's attention. As soon as she comes in, a waitress asks her, "Table for one?" But the woman ignores her and casts anxious eyes around the restaurant. Spotting Marie, she takes long strides in her direction. When she arrives at Marie's table, she says nothing but immediately lowers herself into the seat across from Marie. For a woman so large, her movements are quick and efficient. Mind?" she asks. Marie, who has been concentrating on her book, looks up. Finding this large stranger sitting opposite her, she is startled. The woman pulls off her woolen hat. Her hair is an intense blonde, and it is cut as short as a well-trimmed lawn. Her face wears an open expression, but the skin has a tough, weathered look, like long-used rainwear, and although the features are not exactly symmetrical, there is something reassuring about them that seems to come from an innate fondness for people. Instead of introducing herself, she gives Marie a lopsided smile and rubs her thick palm over her short blonde hair. The waitress comes and tries to set a glass of water and a menu on the table as called for in the Denny's training manual, but the woman waves her away. "Never mind, I'm getting out of here right away." "Sorry, hun." The waitress responds with a nervous smile and leaves. "You're Marie Arce, right?" the woman asks. "Well, yes. Tokahoshi said you'd probably still be here." "Tokahoshi?" "Tetsuya Tokahoshi. Tall guy, long hair, skinny. Plays trombone." Marie nods. "Oh, him. Yeah. He says you speak fluent Chinese." "Well," Marie answers cautiously, "I'm okay with everyday conversation. I'm not exactly fluent." "That's fine. Can I get you to come with me? I've got this Chinese girl in a mess. She can't speak Japanese, so I don't know what the hell is going on." Marie had no idea what the woman was talking about, but she set a bookmark in place, closed the book, and pushed it aside. "What kind of mess?" "She's kinda hurt. Close by. An easy walk. I won't take much of your time. I just need you to translate for her and give me some idea what happened. I'd really appreciate it." Marie has a moment of hesitation, but, looking at her face, she guesses that the woman is not a bad person. She slips her book into her shoulder bag and puts on her jacket. She reaches for the bill on the table, but the woman beats her to it. "I'll pay this." "That's all right. It's stuff I ordered." "Never mind, it's the least I can do. Just shut up and let me pay." When they stand up, the difference in their sizes becomes obvious. Marie is a tiny girl, and the woman is built like a barn, maybe 2 or 3 inches shy of 6 feet. Marie gives up and lets the woman pay for her. They step outside. The street is as busy as ever despite the time. Electronic sounds from the game center. Shouts of karaoke club barkers. Motorcycle engines roaring. 3 young men sit on the pavement outside a shuttered shop doing nothing in particular. When Marie and the woman pass by, the 3 look up and follow them with their eyes, probably wondering about this odd couple, but saying nothing, just staring. The shutter is covered with spray-painted graffiti. "My name's Kaoru," the woman says. "Yeah, I know, you're thinking, how did this big hunk of a woman get a pretty little name like that? But I've been Kaoru ever since I was born." "Glad to meet you," Marie says. "Sorry for dragging you out like this. Bet I threw you for a loop." Marie doesn't know how to respond, and so she says nothing. Want me to carry your bag? Looks heavy, Kaoru says. I'm okay. What's in there? Books, a change of clothes. You're not a runaway, are you? No, I'm not, says Marie. Okay. Good. The two keep walking. From the brightly lighted avenue they turn into a narrow lane and head uphill. Kaoru walks quickly and Marie hurries to keep pace with her. They climb a gloomy, deserted stairway and come out to a different street. The stairs seem to be a shortcut between the two streets. Several snack bars on this street still have their signs lighted, but none of them suggests a human presence. It's that Love Ho over there. Love Ho. Love Hotel. 4 couples. By the hour. See the neon sign, Alphaville? That's it. When she hears the name, Marie can't help staring at Kaoru. Alphaville? Don't worry. It's okay. I'm the manager. The injured woman is in there. Walking on, Kaoru turns and says, it's kinda hard to explain. Is Tokahoshi in there, too? No, he's in another building near here. In the basement. His band's practicing all night. Students have it easy. The two walk in through the front door of the Alphaville. Guests at this hotel choose their room from large photos on display in the foyer, press the corresponding numbered button, receive their key, and take the lift straight to the room. No need to meet or talk to anyone. Room charges come in 2 types, rest and overnight. Gloomy blue illumination. Marie takes in all these new sights. Kaoru says a quiet hello to the woman at the reception desk at the back. Then she says to Marie, you've probably never been in a place like this before. No, this is the first time for me. Oh, well, there are lots of different businesses in the world. Kaoru and Marie take the lift to the top floor. Down a short, narrow corridor they come to a door numbered 404. Kaoru gives 2 soft knocks and the door opens instantly inwards. A young woman with hair dyed a bright red nervously pokes her head out. She is thin and pale. She wears an oversized pink t-shirt and jeans with holes. Large earrings hang from her pierced ears. Oh, cool, it's you, Kaoru, says the red-haired young woman. Took you long enough. I was going crazy. How's she doing? Same old, same old. The bleeding stop? Pretty much. I used a ton of paper towels, though. Kaoru lets Marie in and closes the door. Besides the red-haired woman there is another employee in the room, a small woman who wears her hair up and is mopping the floor. Kaoru does a quick introduction. This is Marie. The one who can speak Chinese. The redhead here is Kamugi. Yeah, I know it sounds like wheat, but it's the name her parents gave her, so what are YA gonna do? She's been working for me forever. Kamugi produces a nice smile for Marie and says, glad to meet YA. Glad to meet you, says Marie. The other one over there is Koragi. Now, that's not her real name. You'll have to ask her why she wants to be known as Cricket. Sorry about that, says Koragi in the soft tones of the Kansai region around Osaka. I got rid of my real name. Koragi looks a few years older than Kamugi. Glad to meet you, says Marie. The room is windowless and stuffy and all but filled with the oversized bed and TV. Crouching on the floor in one corner is a naked woman in a bath towel. She hides her face in her hands and cries soundlessly. Blood-soaked towels lie on the floor. The bedsheets are also bloody. A floor lamp lies where it was knocked down. On the table is a half-empty bottle of beer and 1 glass. The TV is on and tuned to a comedy show. The audience laughs. Kaoru picks up the remote and switches it off. Looks like he beat the crap out of her, she says to Marie. The man she was here with? Marie asks. Her customer. Customer? She's a prostitute. Yeah, we mostly get pros at this time of night, Kaoru says. So sometimes we have problems. Like they fight over the money, or the guy wants some perverted stuff or something. Marie bites her lip and tries to gather her thoughts. And she only speaks Chinese? Yeah, she knows like 2 words of Japanese. I can't call the cops, though. She's probably an illegal alien, and I don't have time to go and testify every time something like this comes up. Marie sets her shoulder bag on the table and goes to the crouching woman. She kneels down and speaks to her in Chinese. Ni Zenmila? What happened? The woman may not have heard her. She doesn't answer. Shoulders quaking, she sobs uncontrollably. Kaoru shakes her head. She's in some kind of shock. I bet he really hurt her. Marie speaks to the woman again. Shijongboren Ma? Are you from China? Still the woman does not answer. Fanshin Ha, Wojen Jingcha Mai Guanxi. Don't worry, I'm not with the police. Still the woman does not answer. Ni Bei Ta Die Lama? Did a man beat you up? The woman finally nods. Her long black hair trembles. Marie continues speaking, quietly but persistently, to the woman. She asks the same question several times. Kaoru folds her arms and watches their interaction with a worried look. Kamugi and Koragi, meanwhile, share the cleanup duties. They gather the bloody paper towels and stuff them in a vinyl trash bag. They strip the bed and put fresh towels in the bathroom. They raise the lamp from the floor and take away the beer bottle and glass. They check replaceable items and clean the bathroom. The two are obviously accustomed to working together. 5. Marie and Kaoru walk down a deserted back street. Kaoru is seeing Marie somewhere. Marie has her navy blue Boston Red Sox cap pulled down low. In the cap, she looks like a boy, which is probably why she always has it with her. Man, am I glad you were there, Kaoru says. I didn't know what the hell was going on. They descend the same stairway shortcuts they climbed on the way to the hotel. Hey, let's stop off at a place I know if you've got the time, Kaoru says. Place? I could really use a nice cold beer. How about you? I can't drink. So have some juice or something. What the hell? You've got to be someplace killing time till morning. They are seated at the counter of a small bar, the only customers. An old Ben Webster record is playing. My Ideal. From the 50s. Some 40 or 50 old-style LPs are lined up on a shelf. Kaoru is drinking draft beer from a tall, thin glass. In front of Marie sits a glass of Perrier with lime juice. Behind the bar, the aging bartender is involved in cracking ice. She was pretty, though, wasn't she? Marie says. That Chinese girl? Yeah, I suppose so. But she won't be pretty for long, living like that. She'll get old and ugly overnight. I've seen tons of them. She's 19, like me. Okay, Kaoru says, munching on a few nuts. But age doesn't matter. That kind of work takes a lot out of you. You've got to have stainless steel nerves. Otherwise you start shooting up, and you're finished. Marie says nothing. You a college kid? Aha. I'm doing Chinese at the University of Foreign Studies. University of Foreign Studies, huh? What are YA gonna do after you graduate? If possible, I'd like to be a freelance translator or interpreter. I don't think I'm suited to a 9-to-5. Smart girl. Not really. From the time I was little, though, my parents always told me I'd better study hard, because I'm too ugly for anything else. Kaoru looks at Marie with narrowed eyes. You're plenty damn cute. It's true, I'm not just saying it to make you feel good. Let 'em get a load of me if they wanna see ugly. Marie gives an uncomfortable little shrug. My sister's older than me and she is just amazing to look at. As long as I can remember they always compared me to her. Like, how can two sisters be so different? It's true, I don't stand a chance if you compare me to her. I'm little, my boobs are small, my hair's kinky, my mouth is too big, and I'm nearsighted and astigmatic. Kaoru laughs. People usually call stuff like that individuality. Yeah, but it's not easy to think that way if people have been telling you you're ugly from the time you're little. So you studied hard? Yeah, pretty much. But I never liked the competition for grades. Plus I wasn't good at sports and I couldn't make friends, so the other kids kind of bullied me, and by the time I got to the 3rd grade I couldn't go to school anymore. You mean, like a real phobia? Kaoru asks. Aha. I hated school so much, I'd throw up my breakfast and have terrible stomachaches and stuff. Wow. I had awful grades, but I didn't mind school all that much. If there was somebody I didn't like, I'd just beat the crap out of them. Marie smiles. I wish I could have done that. Never mind. It's nothing to be proud of. So then what happened? Well, in Yokohama there was this school for Chinese kids. I had a friend in the neighborhood who went there. Half the classes were in Chinese, but they didn't go crazy over grades like in the Japanese schools, and my friend was there, so I was willing to go. My parents were against it, of course, but there was no other way they could get me to go to school. You were a stubborn little thing, I bet. Maybe so, Marie says. So this Chinese school let Japanese kids in? Aha. They didn't have any special requirements or anything. But you probably didn't know any Chinese then? None at all. But I was young, and my friend helped me, so I learned right away. It was good. People weren't so driven. I stayed there all through middle school and high school. My parents weren't too happy about it, though. They wanted me to go to some famous prep school and become a doctor or a lawyer or something. They had our roles picked out for us. The elder sister, Snow White. The younger sister, a little genius. Your sister is that good looking? Marie nods and takes a sip of her Perrier. She was already modeling for magazines in middle school. You know, those magazines for teenage girls. Wow, Kaoru says. It must be tough having such a gorgeous elder sister. But anyhow, to change the subject, what's a girl like you doing hanging out all night in a place like this? A girl like me? You know what I mean. Anybody can see you're a respectable sort of girl. I just didn't want to go home. You had a fight with your family? Marie shakes her head. No, that's not it. I just wanted to be alone for a while someplace other than my house. Until morning. Have you done this kind of thing before? Marie keeps silent. Kaoru says, I guess it's none of my business, but to tell you the truth, this is not the kind of neighborhood where respectable girls ought to be spending the night. It's got some pretty dangerous characters hanging around. I've had a few scary brushes myself. Between the time the last train leaves and the first train arrives, the place changes. It's not the same as in daytime. Marie picks up her Boston Red Sox hat from the bar and begins fiddling with 13. Marie and Tokahoshi sit in their swings in the deserted nighttime park. Tokahoshi is looking at her in profile. His expression says, I don't understand. This is the continuation of their earlier conversation. She doesn't want to wake up. Marie says nothing. What do you mean? He asks. Marie remains silent, looking at her feet, as if she cannot make up her mind. She is not ready for this conversation. Wanna walk a little? Marie says. Sure, let's walk. Walking is good for you. Walk slowly, drink lots of water. What's that supposed to mean? It's my motto for life. Walk slowly, drink lots of water. Marie looks at him. Weird motto. She does not comment on it, however, or ask him about it. She gets out of the swing and starts walking. He follows her. They leave the park and head for a bright area. Going back to the Skylark now? Tokahoshi asks. Marie shakes her head. I guess just sitting and reading in family restaurants is starting to bother me. I think I know what you mean, Tokahoshi says. I'd like to go back to the Alphaville if I can. I'll walk you over there. It's right near where we're practicing. Keiru said I could go there anytime I wanted, but I wonder if it's going to be a bother for her. Tokahoshi shakes his head. She's got a foul mouth, but she means what she says. If she told you to come over anytime, then it's okay to come over anytime. You can take her at her word. Okay. And besides, they've got nothing to do at this time of night. She'll be glad to have you visit. You're going back to do more practicing? Tokahoshi looks at his watch. This is probably the last all-nighter for me. I'm gonna give it my best shot. They return to the center of the neighborhood. Hardly anyone is walking along the street, given the time. For in the morning, slack time in the city. All kinds of stuff is scattered on the street. Aluminium beer cans, a trampled evening newspaper, a crushed cardboard box, plastic bottles, tobacco butts. Fragments of a car's tail lamp. Some kind of discount coupon. Vomit, too. A big, dirty cat is sniffing at a garbage bag, intent on securing a share for the cats before the rats can mess things up or dawn brings the ferocious flocks of crows. Over half the neon lights are out, making the lights of an all-night convenience store that much more conspicuous. Advertising circulars have been stuffed under the windscreen wipers of cars parked along the street. An unbroken roar of huge trucks reverberates from the nearby arterial. This is the best time for the truckers to cover long distances, when the streets are empty. Marie has her Red Sox cap pulled down low. Her hands are thrust into the pockets of her varsity jacket. There is a stark difference in their heights as the two walk side by side. Why are you wearing a Red Sox cap? Tokahoshi asks. Somebody gave it to me, she says. You're not a Red Sox fan? I don't know a thing about baseball. I'm not much interested in baseball, either, he says. I'm more of a soccer fan. So anyway, about your sister, we were talking before. Aha. I didn't quite get it, but you were saying that Eri Ose wasn't going to wake up? Marie looks up at him and says, sorry, but I don't want to talk about that while we're walking along like this. It's kind of a delicate subject. I see. Talk about something else. Like what? Anything. Talk about yourself. About myself? Yeah. Tell me about yourself. Tokahoshi thinks for a moment. I can't think of any sunny topics offhand. Okay, so tell me something dark. My mother died when I was 7, he says. Breast cancer. They found it too late. She only lasted 3 months from when they found it till when she died. Just like that. It spread quickly. There was no time for a decent treatment. My father was in prison the whole time. Like I said before. Marie looks up at Tokahoshi again. Your mother died of breast cancer when you were 7 and your father was in prison? Exactly. So you were all by yourself? Right. He was arrested on fraud charges and got sentenced to 2 years. I think he was running a pyramid scheme or something. He couldn't get a suspended sentence because the damages were big and he had an arrest record from the time he was in a student movement organization. They had suspected him of being a fundraiser for the organization, but he really had nothing to do with it. I remember my mother took me to visit him in prison once. It was freezing cold there. 6 months after they locked him up, my mother's cancer was discovered, and she was hospitalized immediately. So I became a temporary orphan. Father in jail, mother in hospital. Who took care of you during that time? I found out later my father's family put the money together for the hospital and my living expenses. My father had been cut off from his family for years, but they couldn't just leave a 7-year-old kid to fend for himself. So one of my aunts came to see me every other day, half-heartedly, and people in the neighborhood took turns looking after me, laundry, shopping, cooking. We lived in the old working-class area then, which was probably good for me. They still believe in neighborhood over there. But for the most part, I think I was pretty much on my own. I'd make myself simple meals, get myself ready for school and stuff. My memories are pretty vague about that, though, like it all happened to somebody else, far away. When did your father come back? I think maybe about 3 months after my mother died. Under the circumstances, they approved an early parole for him. Obviously, I was thrilled when my father came home. I wasn't an orphan anymore. Whatever else he might have been, he was a big, strong adult. I could relax now. He came back wearing an old tweed coat. I still remember the scratchy feeling of the material and the tobacco smell. 15. Creatures of the Deep is still on the screen, but this is not the TV in the Shirakawa kitchen. The screen is far larger. The set is in a guest room at the Hotel Alphaville. Marie and Koragi are seated in front of it, watching with less than full attention. Each is in her own chair. Marie has her glasses on. Her varsity jacket and shoulder bag are on the floor. Koragi frowns as she watches Creatures of the Deep, but she soon loses interest and starts surfing channels with the remote control. None of the early morning programming seems worth watching. She gives up and turns the set off. You must be tired, Koragi says. Better lie down and get some sleep. Keiru's having a nice nap in the back room. I'm not that sleepy, Marie says. Then how about a nice hot cup of tea? If it's no trouble. Don't worry, tea's one thing we've got tons of. Koragi makes green tea for 2 using tea bags and a thermos flask. Marie asks, what time do you work to? Me and Kamugi are a team. We work from 10 to 10. Straighten up after the overnight guests leave, and that's that. We do take naps now and then. Have you been at this job long? Going on a year and a half, maybe. You don't usually stay at one place a long time in this line of work. Marie pauses a moment, then asks, do you mind if I ask a kind of personal question? Ask all you want, Koragi says. Might not be able to answer some things, though. You're not going to feel bad. Nah, don't worry. You said you got rid of your real name? That's right. I did say that. Why did you do that? Koragi lifts the tea bag from Marie's cup, drops it into an ashtray, and sets the cup in front of her. 'Cause it would have been dangerous for me to go on using it. For all kinds of reasons. Tell you the truth, I'm running away from certain people. Koragi takes a sip of her own tea. You probably don't know this, but if you're seriously trying to run away from something, one of the best jobs you can take is helper at a love hotel. You can make a lot more money as a maid in a traditional Japanese inn, get lots of tips, but you have to meet people and talk to them. Working in a love hotel, you don't have to show your face to guests. You can work in secret, in the dark. They'll usually give you a place to sleep, too. And they don't ask you for CVS or guarantors and stuff. You tell them you can't give them your real name, and they say, like, okay, why don't we call you Cricket? 'Cause they're always short of help. You got a lot of people with guilty consciences working in this world. Is that why people don't usually stay in one place for long? That's it. You hang around in one spot too long and they find you sooner or later. So you keep changing places. There's love hotels everywhere, from Hokkaido to Okinawa, so you can always find work. I'm real comfortable here, though, and Keiru's really nice, so I stayed on. Have you been running away a long time? Going on 3 years now, maybe. Always taking jobs like this? Yep. Here and there. I suppose whoever or whatever you're running away from is pretty scary. You bet. Really scary. But don't ask me any more about that. I try not to talk about it. The two are quiet for a time. Marie drinks her tea while Koragi stares at the blank TV screen. What did you used to do? Marie asks. Before you started running, I mean. Back then, I was just another girl with an office job. Graduated from high school, went to work for a big trading company, 9 to 5, in a uniform. I was your age, around the time of the Kobe earthquake. Seems like a dream now. And then, something happened. A little something. I didn't think too much about it at first. But then it dawned on me I was stuck. Couldn't go forward, couldn't go back. I left everything behind. My job, my parents. Marie looks at Koragi, saying nothing. Sorry, but what was your name again? Koragi asks. Marie. Let me tell you something, Marie. The ground we stand on looks solid enough, but if something happens it can drop right out from under you. And once that happens, you've had it. Things will never be the same. All you can do is go on living alone down there in the darkness. Koragi stops to think again about what she has just said and, as if in self-criticism, gently shakes her head. Of course, it could be just my own weakness as a human being that events dragged me along because I was too weak to stop them. I should have realized what was going on at some point and woken up and put my foot down, but I couldn't. I don't have the right to be preaching to you. What happens if they find you? I mean the ones that are chasing you. What happens, huh? Koragi says. Don't know, really. Rather not think about it too much. Marie keeps silent. Koragi plays with the buttons on the TV remote control, but she doesn't turn the set on. When I finish work and get into bed, I always think, let me not wake up. Let me just go on sleeping. 'Cause then I wouldn't have to think about anything. I do have dreams, though. It's always the same dream. Somebody's chasing me. I keep running and running until they finally catch me and take me away. Then they stuff me inside a refrigerator kind of thing and close the lid. That's when I wake up, and everything I've got on is soaked with sweat. They're chasing me when I'm awake, and they're chasing me in my dreams when I'm asleep. I can never relax. The only time it lets up a little is here, when I'm enjoying small talk with Kaoru or Kamugi over a cup of tea. You know, Marie, I've never told this to anyone before, not to Kaoru, not to Kamugi. You mean that you're running away from something? Aha. I think they're kinda suspect, though. The two fall silent for a while. Do you believe what I'm telling you? Korigi asks. Sure, I believe you. Really? Of course. I could be making it all up. You wouldn't know. We've never met before. You don't look like the kind of person who tells lies, Korigi, Marie says. I'm glad you said that, Korigi says. I've got something to show you. Korigi pulls her shirt up, exposing her back. Impressed in the skin on either side of her backbone is a mark of some kind. Each consists of 3 diagonal lines like a bird's footprint and appears to have been made there by a branding iron. The scar tissue pulls at the surrounding skin. These are the remnants of intense pain. Marie grimaces at the sight. This is just one thing they did to me, Korigi says. They left their mark on me. I've got other ones, but in places I can't show you. These are no lie. How awful. I've never shown them to anyone before. Just to you, Marie. I want you to believe me. I do believe you. I just had that feeling, like I could tell you, it would be okay. I don't know why. Korigi lowers her shirt. Then, as if inserting an emotional punctuation mark, she heaves a great sigh. Korigi, Marie says. Aha. Can I tell you something I've never told anybody before? Sure. Go ahead, Korigi says. I've got a sister. My only sibling. She's 2 years older than me. Aha. Just about 2 months ago, she said, I'm going to go to sleep for a while. She made this announcement to the family at dinner time. Nobody thought much about it. It was only 7 p.m., but my sister always had irregular sleep habits, so it was nothing to be too shocked about. We said goodnight to her. She had hardly touched her food, but she went to her room and got into bed. She's been sleeping ever since. Ever since? Yup, Marie says. Korigi knits her brows. She never wakes up. She does sometimes, we think, Marie says. The meals we leave on her desk disappear, and she seems to be going to the toilet. Every once in a while, she takes a shower and changes her pajamas. So she's getting up and doing the bare minimum needed to keep herself alive, but really, just the bare minimum. None of us has actually seen her awake, though. Whenever we look in, she's in the bed, sleeping, really sleeping, not just faking it. She seems practically dead, you can't hear her breathing, and she doesn't move a muscle. We shout at her and shake her, but she won't wake up. So, have you had a doctor look at her? The family doctor comes to see her once in a while. He's just a general practitioner, so he can't run any major tests on her, but medically speaking, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with her. Her temperature's normal. Her pulse and blood pressure, 16. The grab storage basement where the band is Aloetto practice at night. No windows. High ceiling with exposed pipes. Smoking is prohibited here because of the poor ventilation. As the night draws to a close, the formal practice has ended and the musicians are jamming. There are 10 of them altogether. 2 are women, the pianist at the keyboard and the soprano sax player, who is sitting this one out. Backed up by electric piano, acoustic bass, and drums, Tokahoshi is playing a long trombone solo. Sonny Rollins's Sunnymoon for 2, a mid-tempo blues. His performance is not bad, marked less by technique than by his almost conversational phrasing. Perhaps it is a reflection of his personality. Eyes closed, he immerses himself in the music. The tenor sax, alto sax, and trumpet throw in simple riffs every now and then. Those not playing are drinking coffee from a thermos jug, checking their sheet music, or working on their instruments as they listen. Some call out now and then to urge Tokahoshi on during the pauses in his solo. Enclosed in bare walls, the music is loud. The drummer plays almost entirely with brushes. A long plank and tubular chairs comprise a makeshift table, on top of which are scattered takeout pizza boxes, the thermos jug of coffee, paper cups, sheet music, a small tape recorder, and saxophone reeds. The heating here is almost non-existent. People play in coats and jackets. Some band members sitting out have donned scarves and gloves. It is a bizarre scene. Tokahoshi's long solo ends, the bass takes a chorus, and the 4 horns join in for the final theme. When the tune ends, they take a 10-minute break. Everyone seems tired after the long night of practice, and there is less chatting than usual. As they prepare for the next tune, one musician stretches, another takes a hot drink, another nibbles some kind of cookie, a couple go out for a smoke. Only the pianist, a girl with long hair, stays with her instrument during the break, trying out new chord progressions. Tokahoshi sits in a tubular chair, organizes his sheet music, dismantles his trombone, spills the accumulated saliva on the floor, gives the instrument a quick wipe down, and begins putting it into its case. He is obviously not planning to participate in the next jam. The tall young bass player comes over and taps him on the shoulder. "That was a great solo, Takahashi. It had real feeling." "Thanks," he says. The long-haired young man who was playing the trumpet asks him, "Are you calling it a night, Takahashi?" "Yeah, I've got something to do," he says. "Sorry, I can't help with the cleanup." The Shirakoa house kitchen. On the TV, a beep signals the hour and the NHK news begins. The announcer stares straight into the camera, dutifully reading the news. Shirakoa sits at the table in the dining area, watching the television at low volume. The sound is barely audible. Shirakoa has loosened his tie and is leaning back in his chair, his shirt sleeves rolled up to the elbows. The yogurt container is empty. He has no special desire to see the news. Nothing is likely to arouse his interest. He knows that. He just can't sleep. On the table, he opens and closes his right hand slowly. This is no ordinary pain he is feeling. It is a pain with memories. He takes a green-labeled Perrier bottle from the refrigerator and uses it to cool the back of his hand. Then he twists off the cap, pours himself a glass of water, and drinks it. He takes off his glasses and massages himself intently around the eyes. Still he feels no sign of sleepiness. His body is clearly suffering from exhaustion, but something in his head is preventing him from sleeping. Something is bothering him, and he can't seem to get rid of it. He gives up, puts his glasses back on, and turns to the TV screen. The steel export dumping problem. Government measures to rectify the drastic rise of the yen. A mother who killed herself and her 2 children. She doused her car with petrol and lit it. A shot of the blackened hulk of the car, still smoking. Time for the Christmas retail wars to begin. The night is nearly over, but for him the night will not end so easily. Soon his family will be getting up. He wants to be asleep by then for sure. A room in the Hotel Alphaville. Marie is sunk deep in a chair, napping. Her feet, in white socks, rest on a low glass table. In sleep, she wears a look of relief. Her thick book lies face down on the table, spread open at the halfway point. The ceiling lights are on. The brightness of the room is apparently of no concern to Marie. The TV is switched off and silent. The bed is made. The only sound is the monotonous hum of the heater on the ceiling. Eri Ose's room. Eri Ose is back on this side now. She is sleeping in her own bed in her own room again. Face turned towards the ceiling, she lies utterly still. Even her breathing is inaudible. This is the same view we had the first time we entered this room. Heavy silence, sleep of frightening density. Waveless, mirror-like surface of the waters of thought. She floats there face up. We can find no hint of disorder in the room. The TV screen is cold and dead, like the far side of the moon again. Could she have succeeded in escaping from that enigmatic room? Could a door have opened for her somehow? No one answers our questions. Our question marks are sucked, unresisting, into the final darkness and uncompromising silence of the night. All we know for sure is that Eri Ose has come back to her own bed in this room. As far as our eyes can tell, she has managed safely to return to this side, her outlines intact. She must have succeeded in escaping through a door at the last moment. Or perhaps she was able to discover a different exit. In any case, it appears that the strange sequence of events that occurred in this room during the night has ended once and for all. A cycle has been completed, all disturbances have been resolved, perplexities have been concealed, and things have returned to their original state. Around us, cause and effect join hands, and synthesis and division maintain their equilibrium. Everything, finally, unfolded in a place resembling a deep, inaccessible fissure. Such places open secret entries into darkness in the interval between midnight and the time the sky grows light. None of our principles has any effect there. No one can predict when or where such abysses will swallow people, or when or where they will spit them out. Free of all confusion, Eri now sleeps decorously in her bed. Her black hair fans out on her pillow in elegant, wordless significance. We can sense the approach of dawn. The deepest darkness of the night has now passed. But is this actually true? Inside the 7-Eleven. Trombone case hanging from his shoulder, Takahashi is choosing food with a deadly serious look in his eye. He will be going back to his apartment to sleep, but will need something to eat when he wakes up. He is the only customer in the store. Shokar Sugar's bomb juice is playing from the ceiling speakers. Takahashi picks up a tuna sandwich packed in plastic and a carton of milk. He compares the expiry date on this carton with those on other cartons. Milk is a food of great significance in his life. He cannot ignore the slightest detail where milk is concerned. At this very instant, a cell phone on the cheese shelf begins to ring. This is the phone that Shirakoa left there shortly before. Takahashi scowls and stares at it suspiciously. 17. Marie and Takahashi are walking down the street side by side. Marie has her bag slung over her shoulder and her red socks hat pulled low over her eyes. She is not wearing her glasses. "You're not tired?" Takahashi asks. Marie shakes her head. I had a little nap. Once after an all-night practice like this, I got on the Chuo line at Shinjuku to go home, and I woke up way out in the country in Yamanashi. Mountains all around. Not to boast, but I'm the type who can fall fast asleep just about anywhere. Marie remains silent, as if she is thinking about something else. Anyhow, to get back to what we were talking about before, about Eri Ose, Takahashi says. Of course, you don't have to talk about her if you don't want to. But just let me ask you something. Okay. Your sister has been sleeping for a long time. And she has no intention of waking up. You said something like that, right? Right. I don't know what's going on, but could she be in a coma or some kind of unconscious state? Marie falters briefly. No, that's not it, she says. I don't think it's anything life-threatening at the moment. She's just asleep. Just asleep. Takahashi asks. Except. Marie sighs. Sorry, but I don't think I'm ready to talk about it. That's okay. If you're not ready, don't talk. I'm tired, and I can't get my head straight. And my voice doesn't sound like my voice to me. That's okay. Some other time. Let's drop it for now. Okay, Marie says with obvious relief. For some moments, they don't talk about anything at all. They simply walk towards the station. Takahashi quietly whistles a tune. I wonder what time it starts to get light out, Marie says. Takahashi looks at his watch. At this season, it's maybe 6:40. This is when the nights are longest. It will stay dark a while. When it's dark, it really makes you tired, doesn't it? That's when everybody's supposed to be asleep, Takahashi says. Historically speaking, it's quite a recent development that human beings have felt easy about going out after dark. It used to be after the sunset, people would just crawl into their caves and protect themselves. Our internal clocks are still set for us to sleep after the sun goes down. It feels like a really long time since it got dark last night. Well, it has been a long time. They walk past a chemist's with a large truck parked out front. The driver is unloading the truck's contents through the store's half-open shutter. Think I can see you again sometime soon? Takahashi asks. Why? Why? 'Cause I want to see you and talk to you some more. At a more normal time of day if possible. You mean, like, a date? Maybe you could call it that. What could you talk about with me? Takahashi thinks about this. Are you asking me what kind of subject matter we have in common? Aside from Eri, that is. Common subject matter. Put it to me like that all of a sudden, and I can't think of anything concrete. Right this second. It just seems to me we'd have plenty to talk about if we got together. Talking to me wouldn't be much fun. Did anybody ever say that to you, like, you're not much fun to talk to? Marie shakes her head. No, not really. So you've got nothing to worry about. I have been told I've got a darkish personality. A few times. Takahashi swings his trombone case from his right shoulder to his left. Then he says, it's not as if our lives are divided simply into light and dark. There's a shadowy middle ground. Recognizing and understanding the shadows is what a healthy intelligence does. And to acquire a healthy intelligence takes a certain amount of time and effort. I don't think you have a particularly dark character. Marie thinks about Takahashi's words. I am a coward, though, she says. Now there you're wrong. A cowardly girl doesn't go out alone like this in the city at night. You wanted to discover something here. Right. What do you mean, here? Someplace different. Someplace outside your usual territory. I wonder if I discovered something here. Takahashi smiles and looks at Marie. Anyhow, I want to see you and talk to you again at least one more time. That's what I'd like to do. Marie looks at Takahashi. Their eyes meet. That might be impossible, she says. Impossible? You mean you and I might never meet again? Realistically speaking, Marie says. Are you seeing somebody? Not really, now. So you just don't like me? Marie shakes her head. I'm not saying that. I won't be in Japan after next Monday. I'm leaving for Beijing. To be a kind of exchange student there until next June at least. Of course, Takahashi says, impressed. You're such an outstanding student. I applied on the off chance they'd pick me, and they did. I'm just a freshman. I figured there was no way I could get in. But I guess it's a kind of special program. That's great. Congratulations. So, anyhow, I've just got a few